This is TV and movie actor and Oklahoma rancher Dale Robertson. He once said that he only became an actor so he could make enough money to fulfill his life's dream of owning a horse farm where he could raise and train horses in his home state of Oklahoma. Dale Lemoyne Robertson was born at home 2 miles outside of Harrah, Oklahoma, 30 miles east of Oklahoma City, on the 14th of July, 1923. His parents were Melvin and Varvel Robertson. Melvin was a rancher and would later work for and retire from the Oklahoma Gas and Electric Company. Dale was the youngest of 2 brothers and 1 sister. Dorothy Lee was born May the 14th, 1917, and passed away a year later on the 8th of July, 1918. Melvin Roscoe Jr., that everybody called Roxy, was born February the 9th, 1919. And Chester Howard, called Chad, was born the 3rd of September, 1920. In 1927, when Dale was 4 years old, his parents divorced, and Varvel took the boys and moved to Oklahoma City. She worked at different jobs in order to feed the family. Sometimes the boys would sell baked goods to neighbors that their mother had baked in order to make money. Dale attended Eugene Field Elementary School, and when he was 13, he was struck with an unknown infection. He had woke up screaming, "I cannot see." He had gone completely blind and lost 85% of his hearing. For the next year, Dale Robertson would be in a world of his own. Doctor after doctor was unable to find the answer. They could only speculate that it could have been something that he caught while swimming in a local creek. After a year in darkness, his sight began to return, along with his hearing. The family considered it a miracle. Dale attended Roosevelt Junior High in Oklahoma City, but he would often spend time at his dad's ranch training polo ponies. He had been riding from an early age and had developed quite a love for horses. According to Susie Robertson, Dale's wife, in her book, Bucking Hollywood, about her husband's life, as incredible as it sounds, Dale was already boxing professionally when he was still in his teens. It was during the Depression, and everyone, including Dale, was trying to find ways to make money for the family. Through the years, he fought several professional fights, winning over 90% of them. However, he was knocked out twice and once got a broke nose. He said he just kept fighting, and the fellow knocked the nose back in place. After graduating from Casson High School in 1939, he attended Oklahoma Military College at Claremore. His plans was to continue his boxing career after college. In 1940, Dale's mother, Varvel, opened the Robertson Convalescent Home at 1219 Northeast 8th Street in Oklahoma City, which she managed for 20 years before retiring. By Dale's 2nd year at military college, the Second World War had begun. Dale, his classmates, and his brothers all joined the military. He was quickly sent to Fort Sill in southwest Oklahoma to do basic training. Dale will eventually be sent to Officers Candidate School in Fort Knox, Kentucky to become an officer. He was then stationed at San Luis Obispo, California. While waiting to be shipped overseas, Robinson and his buddies decided to go into Los Angeles sightseeing. While there, he stopped to have his picture made to send to his mother before going overseas. Now, the shop owner placed Dale's picture in the shop window, hoping that it would encourage other soldiers to have their picture made. Now, this is a picture of Lieutenant Robinson in uniform, but it's not the one that was sent to his mother. He didn't see that picture actually until years later. Movie talent scouts saw the picture in the window and began writing him wanting to represent him. Now, there was a shortage of actors during the war. Dale said that Uncle Sam wasn't interested in his potential movie career. Now, many stories, including the Los Angeles Times, said that he served as lieutenant with the 777th Tank Battalion in North Africa. And serving as a tank commander, during battle he raised the hatch to look out when his tank was struck with a shell and concussion blowed him out through the hatch, injuring himself and killing his crew. Even though major newspapers printed this story, I was unable to confirm it. I do know, however, he was assigned to the 322nd Combat Engineering Battalion during the European campaign. We know that Dale was wounded from mortar fire during the taking of a town on the border of Czechoslovakia from German troops. His right knee and legs were wounded, but instead of reporting to the field hospital, he tended his own wounds himself and stayed in command of his company and continued fighting. Years later, the Army tried to recall him for the Korean War. During his physical, his war wounds was discovered by military doctors, and he was declared ineligible for service. Staff writers from the Los Angeles Times on February the 28th, 2013 stated that Dale Robertson received the Bronze and Silver Star and Purple Heart. After World War II was over, Dale headed for Hollywood after giving up his dream of boxing career because of his wounded legs. Unfortunately, the talent agents that wanted him during the war was now closing their doors. After finally locating an agent that would accept him, it will still take until 1948 before he'll be in his first unaccredited film role, The Boy with the Green Hair, featuring a young Dean Stockwell. The next year, in 1949, Dale was in his first significant role, Fighting Man of the Plains, starring Randolph Scott. Dale played Jesse James. Although he had a small part, he did get to rescue Randolph Scott from the gallows. Dale gave credit to producer Nat Holt for giving him a chance to obtain a part in this film. After the movie, he was offered a multi-contract deal with Fox Studios. This contract gave him enough financial security that Dale could begin fulfilling his dream and purchase a 400-acre ranch back home in Oklahoma. In 1950, it was Two Flags West with Joseph Cotton and Jeff Chandler. The next year, Dale will become romantically involved with Frederica Jacqueline Wilson, and they will marry on May the 19th, 1951. Also in 1951, the studio decided to try Dale in a musical. They gave him a lead role in Golden Girl with Mitzi Gaynor. Although the film played fast and loose with history, it's based on an early stage career of the 19th century singer Loda Crabtree. The next year, the studio returned him back to westerns, starring with Return of the Texan with Joanne Drew. That same year, 1952, Frederica and Dale have a baby girl, Rochelle. While working for director Henry Hathaway on O. Henry's Full House, Hathaway told Dale that he often blew up and hollered sometimes and screamed at his actors, but that he didn't mean it. And Dale told Hathaway that he sometimes knocked the teeth out of anybody who hollered at him in public, but he always felt bad later. The next year, in 1953, Dale will star with pinup girl Betty Grable in The Farmer Takes a Wife. Robertson said that there were only two leading ladies that he really enjoyed working with, and Betty Grable was one of them. The next year, in 1954, Dale went to United Artists to do Sitting Bull with Mary Murphy. Murphy had just finished a major picture as the girlfriend of Marlon Brando in The Wild One. Robertson and Murphy first met on a flight to Mexico where Sitting Bull was being filmed. Filming took almost 2 months, and during that period, a romance developed between the two co-stars, which will become on and off for the next 2 years. Also in 1954, Dale will star with his other favorite actress, Deborah Paget, in The Gambler of Natchez. On the 4th of June, 1956, after 5 years of marriage, Frederica Wilson will divorce Dale Robertson. As was custom back then, she will gain custody of their daughter Rochelle. On the same day of his divorce, Dale and Mary Murphy drove from California to Yuma, Arizona to be married. Dale was 32 and Mary was 25. Within 3 months, Mary Murphy will file for annulment on the grounds that Dale didn't want to have children, although he already had one and he will later adopt another one. After the annulment, Mary will continue her acting career, and eventually she will marry again and have a daughter. Mary will pass away on May the 4th, 2011, at the age of 80 from heart disease. Now in the same year as their annulment, 1956, Dale will star with Linda Darnell in The Dakota Incident, where Indians attack a stagecoach and passengers band together to survive. Dale said that during this time, he was being called by producer Nat Holt, trying to get him to agree to do a pilot that he was producing. It was entitled Tales of Wells Fargo. 4 times Robertson turned the offer down, but he finally decided that he would do it for Nat, thinking that he owed a favor for hiring him in his first accredited film, Fighting Man of the Plains. Nat Holt even offered Dale 50% of the show if he would agree to become Jim Hardy, agent for Wells Fargo, who investigated crime against the company. Dale was ambidextrous, but primarily right-handed. To be different from other TV westerns, he decided to make Jim Hardy a left-handed draw. Now this way, he could shake hands with the outlaw with his right hand and draw his gun with his left. To everyone's surprise, Tales of Wells Fargo became a major TV show and ran for 5 years. Every cowboy, including Jim Hardy, had a favorite horse, and Jim Hardy's horse was Jubilee. Dale found Jubilee at the racetracks. He was beautiful, with a diamond blaze and 4 stocking feet all the way up to his knees. He stood 15 hands high. Jubilee was actually the grandson of the famous racehorse, Man of War. Robertson would never call himself an actor. He never took an acting lesson in his life, and he patterned himself after John Wayne. He said an actor becomes the part that he's playing. I'm a personality. A personality adapts the part to himself. Through his career, Dale will perform his own stunts that will 20 years later qualify him for induction into the Stuntman's Hall of Fame. 2 years after beginning Wells Fargo, Dale met Lula Mae Maxey. According to Lula Mae, she was working for a Houston oil company as a switchboard operator when she and 4 of her girlfriends went on vacation to the horse races. When Dale walked up and asked her how she was doing, she said awful. He came back by the next day and asked the same question, and she said he got the same answer. He sent a message inviting all 5 girls to visit his ranch in California. Only 2 of the girls were able to go. Over a period of time, they became closer, and on the 13th of November 1959, 36-year-old Dale Robertson and 26-year-old Lula Mae Maxey wed at Robertson's Sepulveda Ranch in California. It was Dale's 3rd marriage and Lula's 2nd. She had been divorced from her first husband for 4 years. 2 years after marrying Lula, Dale was a surprise guest star on the Ralph Edwards TV show This Is Your Life. Now this is Dale, Lula Mae, and his newly adopted daughter that he named Rebel Lee Robinson, as they appeared on This Is Your Life in 1961. Little Rebel will grow up to become a Dallas certified public accountant. After 4 years of being top TV show, the Tales of Wells Fargo's producer began changing the format, adding new characters, and moving the retired main character Jim Hardy to a ranch in California and would seldom let him investigate crime. The next year, in 1962, Dale, not being pleased with the changes, sold his part of the show to the producers. After Dale left, the show was quickly canceled on June 2, 1962. The next year, Dale's brother Chad began managing Dale's Haymaker farm outside of Yukon, Arizona. It was located 30 miles northwest of Oklahoma City. Dale named the ranch Haymaker from a boxing term. The ranch raised quarter horses. When someone called Dale a cowboy, he'd say, "I'm not a cowboy. I don't raise cows. I raise horses. I don't like the idea of raising things that I know is going to be slaughtered." In 1964, Dale will be in Law of the Lawless with Yolando DiCarlo. This is Bob Ransom, Jerry Collins, and Dale in 1966's Iron Horse, an ABC television series about the gambler played by Dale that wins a half-finished railroad in a card game. His attempt to finish the railroad against several obstacles makes the plot. The series will have 47 episodes and will end on January 6, 1968. Within a year of leaving Iron Horse, Dale was hired to host a long-running TV show entitled Death Valley Days. The first host was Stanley Andrews, who called himself the Old Ranger from 1952 until 1964. Then a future governor and president, Ronald Reagan, from 1964 until 1966, who will quit the series to run for governor. After Reagan, it'll be Rosemary DeCamp for a short time only. And then Dale will host starting in 1969, and the show will end the next year in 1970. By this time, Dale and Lula had moved to his ranch, and Dale would travel from Oklahoma to California to work. In 1974, Dale will star as Melvin Purvis G-Men in a made-for-television movie. It's largely a fictitious film about Purvis, who was actually a real FBI agent, chasing down gangster Machine Gun Kelly. The next year, in 1975, Robertson again will play Agent Melvin Purvis in a spinoff from Melvin Purvis G-Men. They named it The Kansas City Massacre. On February 8, 1977, after 17 years of marriage, Lula May and Dale Robertson divorced. 10 months after his divorce, on the 12th of December, 1977, Dale's brother, Chester Howard Robertson, Chad, passed away suddenly at the age of 57. Chad had been managing Haymaker Farms for Dale since the early 60s. Within a few months of Chad's death, Dale will move to Oklahoma so that he can take charge of Haymaker. In 1977, Dale Robertson was the first Oklahoman to be inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. When reporters asked him why he was the first, he said, "I don't know, and I'm not going to ask. They might change their mind." Now, that same year, he will star in The Last Ride of the Daltons. Dale appeared in over 60 movies and some 400 TV shows during his career. The word was Dale never cared much for publicity that most people in the movie business craved. He was more interested in his ranch and horses. When he ducked Hollywood gossip columnist Luella Parsons, she was mad and told him that he would be out of business soon. And she called Harry Cohn, Columbia Picture executive, and demanded that he fire Dale Robertson because he was rude and anti-Semitic. Dale happened to be in the office at the time, and Cohn allowed Dale to listen in on the conversation. After hanging up, Mr. Cohn asked Dale, "Are you anti-Semitic?" And Dale said, "Why, I don't know. What does that mean?" "It means that you don't like Jews." And Dale said, "Are you Jewish, Mr. Cohn?" And he said, "I certainly am." Dale says, "Well, I sure don't like you that much." And they had a big laugh over it. Their friendship continued for years until Harry Cohn's death. However, Luella wasn't laughing, and the next 3 years straight, Dale received the Sour Apple Award. He told friends, "Now I was going for that 4th year and would have won it too, until that Frank Sinatra slugged some reporter and cost me my award." In September of 1979, Dale and his daughter Rochelle was flying between Oklahoma City and Los Angeles so Dale could attend a function. When they met, airline stewardess Susan D. Robbins. Dale and Susan made a date for dinner on her next trip to Oklahoma. The next 6 months will be spent flying back and forth to see each other. Susan stated in her book, Bucking Hollywood, that Dale's younger daughter, Rebel, was living with him at his ranch, and Dale had Oklahoma cowboy ideas. So when she stayed at the ranch, he insisted that she sleep in a room with Rebel, who would keep her awake most of the night talking. But she said it was okay because she was such a sweet girl. It'll be February the 2nd, 1980, at the Horseshoe Casino in Las Vegas. Among her family, Susan and Dale Robertson will be married. They will live at the Haymaker Farm Ranch in Oklahoma. 3 months after their marriage, Dale will get word that his father, Melvin Roscoe Robertson, had passed away on the 22nd of May, 1980, while living in Sulphur, Oklahoma, some 85 miles south of Oklahoma City. Mr. Robertson was 86 years old. The next year, 1981, Dale appeared in 15 episodes of the TV show Dynasty as an oil-drilling wildcatter. His character was killed off after the first season, Dale said, because he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He kept complaining about the sex stuff that they kept putting in. I wouldn't do it the way they wanted. Now, he had often said, "I can't use bad language around ladies, and Hollywood makes that crap and calls it art." Now, to me, it's striking how all cowboy actors from Oklahoma, like James Garner, Ben Johnson, Dale Robertson, and others, all have the same gentlemanly attitude when it comes to ladies. On May the 27th, 1981, 1 year after Dale's father passed away, and 3 months after his marriage to Susan, Dale was waiting to meet his mother for lunch at the Sleepy Hollow restaurant located at 1101 Northeast 50th Street, Oklahoma City. Varva was being driven to the restaurant by a young man believed to have been her great-nephew. Now, this is the location where the restaurant was. As they began to turn left into the restaurant parking lot off Northeast 50th Street, her car was struck by an oncoming westbound vehicle. Now, this is the restaurant back then. Dale's wife, Susan, was on her way to the restaurant with friends to meet her husband and mother-in-law. She witnessed the accident. Knowing whose car it was, she rushed to Varva's side to assist and discovered it was too late. Susan then rushed to be with Dale, knowing that he was inside the restaurant waiting. Varva Rowena Robertson is buried at the Memorial Park Cemetery in Oklahoma City. She was 84 years old. The next year, Dale was hired to play one of the suitors to Miss Ellie, played by Barbara Bale Geddes on the CBS television series Dallas. Dale played Frank Crutchner for 5 episodes in 1982. The next year, in 1983, Dale Robertson will be inducted into the Hollywood Stuntmen's Hall of Fame in Moab, Utah. Being a horseman all of his life, it was only natural for him to do his own stunts. In the same year that Dale was inducted into the Stuntmen's Hall of Fame, he was also inducted into the Great Western Performers at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City. Now, this is Dale with 2 other inductees, Tom Selleck and Ernest Borgnine. In 1986, Oklahoma-based Ram Trucking Company, owned by Dale, filed for bankruptcy. Dale come out of retirement to pay the $1 million debt off. The next year, on the 26th of September 1987, Dale began J.J. Starbucks on CBS's crime drama by the same name. He'll play a billionaire Texan crime fighter riding around in a Lincoln convertible with bull horns on the hood. The series will end on August the 17th, 1988. In 1993, Dale will appear as Zeke in CBS's television series Heart of the West that starred Bo and Lloyd Bridges. Bo as David Hart, who quit as a shoe salesman in the city and moves his family west to Nevada to revive a defunct dude ranch. Lloyd plays as an old-timer on the ranch, and Dale played his brother. The show will close within a year, and in 1994, Dale's brother, Melvin Roscoe Jr., Roxy, passed away on June the 12th, 1994, at the age of 75. After his last performance in 1994 on Heart of the West, Dale completely retired from acting and spent the next 19 years raising horses at his Haymaker Ranch, raising over 200 quarter horses and several equestrian champions. Dale's wife Susan stated that in his last few years he was affected by pains from his leg caused by the war. Dale Robertson, star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, is located on the south side, 6500 block, Hollywood Boulevard. Dale said he didn't want to ever be in anything that a family couldn't watch together. 70% of his movies were westerns. By 2012, Dale's health was beginning to fail. Although both Dale and Susan wanted to stay on their beloved ranch and farm as long as possible, they decided to move to Rancho Santa Fe, California, to be near Susan's sister and brother-in-law so that they could help care for Dale. They had only been in California a few months when Dale was taken to the Scripps Memorial Hospital in La Jolla. While being tested for pneumonia, doctors discovered that he had lung cancer and that it had already spread to his brain, liver, and lymph nodes. On the 27th of February 2013, within a few days after the discovery of his cancer, Dale Lemoyne Robertson passed away from complications of lung cancer at the age of 89. His body was cremated and his remains given to his family. Dale Robertson left his wife Susan, his daughters Rochelle and Ribble, and a granddaughter.